I want to make mention of this because I've asked you and you don't know either. What the fuck is going on between, this is a audience participation question. What has gone on between Nick Aldis and Billy Corgan? Because I've seen on the internet over the last week or so, Aldis suspended by Billy Corgan. His contract is up in January. He will not be renewing. He's moving on. Big split up, big breakup, acrimonious things happening. Can't figure out what. And nobody, and the NWA has gone so far under the radar. I guess they'd have to be on sonar at this point. But I haven't heard anything going on there, and nobody's said anything about it on the websites that I frequent, which is basically only one or two. And now this big breakup, and I wonder what all that's about. And then I see a headline. I think it was on pwinsider.com, one of the only sites I trust. And it says, Nick Aldis explains his breakup or whatever with the NWA, and okay, and I click on the thing, and it's a fucking recording of a podcast that's like an hour and a half long. I don't care that bad. So Brian, if you found out anything, feel free to pitch in, but elsewise, can the people out there tell us what the hell's gone on with this formerly beautiful relationship between Aldis and Corgan? Aldis and Corgan's, it actually sounds like a fucking division of Roto-Rooter.
Yeah, and again, a lot of people have either wondered what was going on or dismissed things as being a work because previously they've kind of done that whole, I'm mad at the man, and I'm the man, and I'm mad at the
Wait, you got Italian again. I'm mad at the man. Who's Italian in this scenario?
Hey, you know what? I'm getting called right now by a wrestling superstar, and I'm going to answer the phone and tell him that on the air. Hello there. I'm actually in the middle of recording right now, and you're going to hear this on the show, and you won't know that it's you that called, but I'll call you back. All right. There it is.
I think I heard from the other...
Whatever's there will be taken out by the Sharknado, but people have thought it's a work. And then now people are thinking it's not a work. There have been people unhappy, I guess, under contract to the NWA. There's not a lot going on there. But Jimmy, I have something here, a report that was filed for the Wrestling News. Nick Aldis just appeared on the Not Sam podcast, and he cited what he described as the NWA's movement away from what he considered its original creative goal when Corgan purchased the brand in 2017, which was to provide fans with a product that was an alternative to much of modern wrestling. So let's stop there.
Well, and hold on, and I can chime in and say that's the way that Billy Corgan and Liver Lip Lagana were presenting it, not only to the fans, but also that's the way they pitched it to me. Hey, old-fashioned studio wrestling, not all this insane lunacy, giving the guys a little more freedom to go out there in the TV studio and do their promos and blah, 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 but a studio wrestling program. And, of course, then that was pretty much immediately squashed both by their ill-advised choices in video editors and also the pandemic. And then I haven't seen anything they've done since, to be honest.
Well, I'll continue here with the Wrestling News' report. Although he pinpointed the company's creative decline as starting when he lost the NWA title, he made it clear he was not pressuring Corgan to put the title back on him, and that it was a conversation Corgan had with Aldis' wife, Mickie James, in which he insisted that's what Aldis was doing, which convinced him it was time to leave the company. So let's stop there. If that's true, if the timing happens to be when he lost the belt, and that happens to be something that isn't true, but Billy Corgan says it to the guy's wife, what about that?
Well, yeah, well, and also, now, has he lost it and regained it? Did he lose it again? Because I know they put it on Trevor Murdoch for some period of time. Did they not?
Is he the current? Who's the current NWA champion?
I don't have a goddamn clue.
I don't know either. It may be Trevor Murdoch.
Well, I don't think it is.
Hold on. I have no idea who the NWA World Champion. Good job, NWA. NWA World Champion.
Go to NWA. Is it NWA.com? What is their website?
I don't know. I went to Wikipedia. I have to find a list. Their website doesn't even come up anywhere.
But here's what I'm saying. I know that I think
Trevor Murdoch, current champion.
Okay, well, at the same time, Trevor Murdoch and Aldis had a good match and a good chemistry together, and I don't recall any issues to where that they would have a problem, Aldis would have a problem dropping it. Trevor Murdoch, I think that's one thing that they did right, was get the people behind Trevor Murdoch and one last run, one last ride, or whatever. Maybe I don't know anything other than that. But at the same time, like you said, if it wasn't about dropping it to Trevor Murdoch, and to be honest, looking at their talent roster, besides Nick Aldis and Trevor Murdoch, because they had the story built and it was right, who else ought to be the NWA champion? I don't know. But I don't think Aldis is a guy with a big problem about doing jobs like that. But depending on what else Corgan's creative direction was, if he was legitimately, too many pronouns, pal, if Aldis was legitimately upset about that, and then Corgan turns around and tells Mickie James, no, I know it's just because he wants the belt back, then yeah, that would piss me off too. I'm not sure that I would quit the whole company over it unless it really is a situation with the creative direction. And since I haven't seen any of their stuff, I don't know what their creative direction has been. I know that the very last time that I talked to Billy Corgan in person, which was not long after the first taping we did down there at the studio taping in 2019, and he came through Louisville, I pitched him a couple of ideas that I thought were good, not for myself, but for a couple of his talents on the card that I figured he could elevate. Aaron the Idol Stevens was one of them, and I can't remember who the other one was. And he and old Liverlip spent a majority of the dinner that we had, which, by the way, was at a vegetarian restaurant. I offered to take him to barbecue, and Corgan picked the vegetarian place. But they spent most of their time telling me that they'd found this fucking girl they were going to start featuring, and end of every third sentence was, and she's got these huge tits, but we won't say anything about that. So I think they were already going sports entertainment after the first fucking... I think that girl ended up being like, what she came out as an announcer or manager. Not Greg Valentine. Her name was Valentine of some description.
Greg
Girl with the big
Valentine.
tits. Not Greg, but another not related. But yeah, I think, because Lagana sports entertainment is all that he ever was involved in. And Billy, I don't know what the fuck he was doing. But anyway.
You've never talked about it on the air, and I don't know if you will yet. Do you remember what the last thing Billy Corgan said to you?
Yeah.
I don't know if you're willing to reveal, but I always found that to be the funniest thing.
Yeah, it was funny because, again, Dave Lagana, old Liverlip Lagana, had been, I guess, 2 or 3 times he had called me and asked, what did you say on your podcast? What do you mean? What did you say? Did you say this on your podcast? No, I didn't, Dave. Actually, I said this, and then I clarified it. Well, could you not say that? No, I can't not say that because that's my opinion. Well, also, are you knocking AEW so because we've found that on YouTube there's a such and such % crossover between the AEW audience and the NWA audience. So should you be knocking them? I said, no, I should be telling them to quit making stupid decisions. Just watch the NWA. What the fuck? He thought for whatever reason that I was going to modify what I do in my normal real life for a once every 2 months part-time color commentary deal that I was doing for him as a favor for their YouTube program. And so as he had been going on again, why could you take it easy on AEW? Because there's such and such crossover in our audience. And then Liverlip goes up to the front to pay the tab, and Corgan says, don't worry about Dave, he gets like that. I've got your back. And 2 weeks later, they air the program that Liverlip edited, and Billy Corgan was on stage somewhere doing an acoustic rendition of I don't know what the fuck. And Lagana made it a goddamn giant controversy, pulled the thing down, put it back up, re-edited, apologized profusely for me. And the next week they lost, or the next set of tapings, they lost half of their YouTube audience.
And that was then. And let's go to that. Because now the audience, I think, is even smaller. And if you're a Nick Aldis, and we don't know what kind of future he has, because he's, I think, in his mid to late 30s. I don't know if he has someone in AEW or WWE that's going to go to bat for him and try to get him in there. So we don't know what the future holds for Nick Aldis. But it has to be frustrating being under contract to one of these smaller wrestling companies, like an NWA or an MLW, whose owners definitely want to do things, but it may not ever be happening. And you're kind of tied to a contract and you can't do shit. And your years and your days are just flying by. That has to be pretty frustrating.
Yeah, and Aldis, at this point, he needs to do something now, like you said, given age. And it's not because he's in bad shape, and I don't know that he's had major injuries, but it's just the level of, and I mean, in AEW, he'd be working with the same kind of children Punk was working with. He has built himself and his image on carrying himself like a champion, like a professional. He's a big, good-looking guy in good shape, and he speaks well, and he dresses well, and he was trying to be a serious world champion and have serious matches. So then, what's the alternative here? You go to AEW, you can make money, but you also have to work with the children, and nobody takes anything seriously. Or you try to go to the WWE to make the biggest money and make one last run or splash, and they're age conscious because they're investing for the future because they know that their future is almost guaranteed in some fashion or another. So, but he's got to do something quick. And just the fact that, my God, even we don't know why the fuck he was mad at Billy Corgan indicates that yes, Corgan had all the intentions in the world, but that ship has sailed. The NWA is not going to be as big as it was when I did their first fucking taping. And that, at that time, was supposed to be the beginning. It now looks like the high water mark. And the pandemic had a lot to do with that. They had a little momentum and a little talk. But at the same time, Corgan was kind of hamstrung because Lagana was doing all the work. And not only does he end up fucking sabotaging me, but then he gets fucking popped for trying to stick his hand down somebody's pants in fucking California 10 years ago or whatever the fuck, and he's exiled to Never Never Land. And then there ain't nobody to do anything. So, it would have been wonderful if it had worked, but it didn't. And now, Nick Aldis is probably thinking, God damn, my time is running out to do anything legitimate anywhere at this point.